We did a little bit of this a couple weeks ago. Let's take another look. Browns offense and what we expect it to be this year, and specifically the RPO concept. So take us through. You have some video that we're going to look at. Take us through this.
Yeah, so I think you're always looking at how the Browns are using opportunities to create cheap yards. This is an RPO, double-sided RPO concept, so you can throw it to the right to the quick screen, or you can throw it left to the speed out. And they throw it left, 5 yards, easy gain, right? The point of this is you can run counter up front if you want to. If number 29 there on the right side, watch Winston's eyes right there. He's watching him. If he doesn't jump to the flat right away, just take the 5 yard throw. I think something that people have talked about covering the Browns for a while is like we want cheap yards. Well, RPOs hold second level defenders like you see, create easy throws, and you can gain 5 yards. I just think it's going to be, and again, another good look at it right here of the option to run. Like if the corner is down or if that invert outside will linebacker jumps, you're definitely handing that ball off to Foreman. But if he doesn't, just take the 5 yards, right? That's just like running a fly sweep for 5 yards or whatever it takes to get those easy yards. Because this is easy. It's like one, read it, boom, step, throw. 5 yards are hard to come by at times in the NFL. So if you can find some concepts that can get you those 5 yards, it's something you should have in. And again, another look at the quarterback's eyes, who he's reading, throwing it outside. If 29 jumped to the flat right away, he'd give that football up inside for a run. So I've just been tracking, like Ken Dorsey in Buffalo last year led the NFL in RPO usage. The Browns have wanted to do more of it, but I don't think Kevin is like naturally a gifted designer of RPO stuff or comfortable calling it, when to call it, how to call it. It's not in his background per se. So getting some people in like Ken, like Tommy Reese, the tight ends coach, who did a lot of that at Alabama with Jalen Milroe and at Notre Dame. And then, working in other voices like Nick Charlton as well, who they brought in from UConn, and just different ways to look at football. And I think that you pay attention, you can see some different motion stuff that I think is going to be good for them. I know we've talked about on the show here before. And then there's like some new RPO wrinkles that should make the team you watch on Sunday feel a little bit different than what you've seen in the past 2 or 3 years.
When a team runs RPO, what does it do to the defense, and does it open certain things up, conceptually?
Yeah, the point of them is to put defenders in conflict, right? Like that's always what you want to do. And I mean, play action and run action stuff where you're throwing downfield is the same premise. But what you're able to do is, you know, a lot of concepts are called and then you hope they work, right? I think the Browns are trying to find more things that give them answers post snap. Two things, right? So more answers post snap is in read a guy, react off of their movement, and take what they're not defending. If they're going to sit in the box and hang out and try to be a part of the run fit, then throw it outside, right? Or throw the slant behind them. If they're going to jump to the flat and jump into pass coverage, then just run up inside of them. What they're trying to do, and I think this has been pretty obvious watching a lot of their offense up close for years now, is the last 2, 3 years, Kevin's tendencies started to really like be something teams knew. And I thought defenses were on their toes about how to play them. I thought they were downhill, getting where they needed to go, and we're not fooled as often as we would hope. I think that's when you get those explosives, those 20+ yard plays, is when you can have defenders truly questioning, is this run or is this pass? Because that's how you open up vertical shot throws. That's how you open up windows to throw, intermediate and catch after run type stuff. They're trying to do more of that in terms of the post snap manipulation, and that's either through RPOs like we're talking there, or choice routes, which give you like, hey, the safety has this leverage, then you change the route to this. It's built in like, hey, let's not put the entire burden of the offense on scheming something open, and say, hey, let's have some post snap answers based on what the defense does. And what you're again kind of penning inside here is that like we can keep defenders uncomfortable, because if you put defenders in situations they're uncomfortable, that's when you get more positive results. When defenses are confident, they know what you're doing for the most part, they know your tendencies, they know your concepts well, they look really fast. They play fast and they look fast and they swarm at you, and it's not fun. So I definitely think that's a humongous part of what they've done this offseason, is try to reshape their options at their disposal for when defenses think they're going to do one thing, that they have the ability to counter pivot and do something different that puts them in a bind again.
Are there concepts that you marry with the RPOs or play off of the RPOs to kind of keep the defense even further off balance?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some stuff where it can look like an RPO, but it's actually play action, and you're really trying to manipulate somebody into a space and then throw behind them, right? Like, there's definitely some of that. If you have, like, for example, that route we just saw, you could run a play action where you're kind of like, hey, this looks like an RPO. I look like I'm, but then you're kind of running an out and up, right? A double move, or it looks like an RPO where we're selling. I'm looking at that guy. I'm eyes on him while I'm running the fake in the backfield. But then there's an over route that comes in right behind that linebacker jumping to the flat, right? Like you can double move off of those and be able to put in some very specific stuff that stretches defenses out and kind of like I said, it goes beyond that. So you can pair if an RPO says, hey, we can have three options on any given play, right? I could throw this ball to the right side quick screen. I could throw to the speed out on my left, or I could give this football up inside for a counter concept run up front. Well, we can just make it look like that, but we can also know that we have this ability to manipulate this specific defender and then run a route that is an answer off of what we think he's going to do. So you can start to understand how the defense is coached to play it, right? And that's where somebody like Mike Vrabel is really good at identifying, like, hey, their rule in 3-by-1 or 2-by-2 is this. They're going to react this way to this look up front, right? The linebackers are taught to read the pulling guard. If he sees the pulling guard, he's going to be one step into run fit, then he's going to fly to the flat. Well, okay, well, let's just run a concept that looks like RPO off of that, where we send Tillman instead of a speed out, let's put him on a 3-step fire slant where he's going to push back behind that window, right? Like there's just counters. It's a chess game. So I definitely feel like there are ways in which teams start to understand those tendencies of things you're using. You can start to break those and be different and diverse. And again, I think the games you watch on Sunday across the entire NFL is which team has more answers for what the team's trying to take away. Think about it. All week, everyone's trying to take away. What does this team do? What are they most comfortable doing? And how do we stop it? Because the way you beat teams in the NFL is make them uncomfortable. If the play caller's uncomfortable, you're going to beat them. The quarterback's uncomfortable, you're probably going to beat them. The defense is uncomfortable. They don't know what's coming. They have no idea. They don't feel comfortable about what they saw on film or what the game plan is for the week. Then you have a chance to hang some points on them. So it's a giant chess match, and whoever has the most answers and they've conceptually taught up their guys to run the varying different types of answers, then again, those are probably the teams that are winning more ball games than losing.